Hello Squad UK, I'm Haydn Jakes and I won the gold medal at the World Skills International Finals in Kazan in aircraft maintenance last year. And I've put together this short video for you just to hopefully give you some motivation to carry on with your training during these difficult times, to also guide you through that training and to give you a bit of information that I hope will give you a bit of an edge when you get to Shanghai and give you a higher chance of medaling. I will also discuss a little bit about training managers, just because at the moment I understand a lot of you are disconnected from your training managers and doing long distance training. So just from a competitor's point of view, I just wanted to give you a bit of a heads up on how you can really get the most out of your training managers in the months and time to come to prepare you for Shanghai. So without any further ado, let's get cracking. So I'm going to discuss a few things. So what I really want to discuss is what sets us apart from other countries. I'm sure by now you will have heard of some countries that you think perhaps maybe have a major advantage over us, major advantages. So we're going to discuss those. So some countries, for example, may be training full time. So China, Korea, Brazil, they all tend to train full time. I'm going to focus on Brazil throughout this video just because it's what I'm familiar with from my cycle. So Brazil, they train 6 days a week, 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening, for a few months leading up to their international competition. The organisation fly all of the competitors from wherever they live in Brazil to a training facility, and they go to that training facility 6 days a week to do training just for World Skills competitions. And all of their expenses are paid, all of their food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, their bus to from the hotel, their flights home every 2 weeks to see their families, it's all covered. So that brings me on to funding. So some countries may have a bit more funding than we do. Some countries offer incentives for winning medals, for example. And that's an advantage that other countries may have over us. And then there's also the home ground advantage. So you've got, when I went to Russia, the Russian competitors may have had a small psychological advantage because they were on their own turf. Maybe, maybe not. So you guys, when you go out to China, your Chinese competitors will have a psychological advantage, maybe a small one, maybe a big one, depending on the person, just because they're competing in their own country. So how can we beat countries that have all of this funding, all of this training on their own ground? How can we do it? Well, hopefully, I want to prove to you that this is possible, and I'm going to hopefully insert an image here that demonstrates that. So on the left, I hope it's on the left when I edit it in, but on the left, you've got the Russian competitor in my skill. There, he was not training full time, but they definitely had a lot of funding. They were hosting, so of course a lot of funding, a lot of money was thrown at the Russian competitors to really hope, well, to really boost their chances. It would be good for them to win on their own ground. He had the home ground advantage. We were competing in Russia, so he may have had a small psychological advantage. I'm not sure. I personally think I would have an advantage if I was competing in the UK. That's just me. And then you've got the Chinese competitor standing next to him, training full time, lots of funding, lots of government backing, but they're together and they got joint silver, and what they are there is standing on the second place podium next to me on the first place podium after just being told that I'd won a gold medal in my skill. So hopefully this image proves to you that despite all of the advantages that all of these countries have, that I'm sure are playing in the back of your mind, I hope that with this information you can see that we actually have an edge and they are beatable. And I hope that you guys can use this information in your training, as I'm giving it to you now early on in your training. You can use it throughout your training so that when you get to Shanghai, all of this stuff is something that you don't really worry about, and it's something that you've already come to terms with and you know how to beat it. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that set the UK and the UK competitors apart, in my opinion. So these are all my opinions from my own personal experiences. You'll cover a lot of this in your boot camps already, but I just wanted to hit home on 3 particular points. So we're going to talk about commitment, and I want you all to take ownership of your own training. And what I mean by that is your training managers will set formal training for you based on the collective strengths and weaknesses of your squad. Most squads have multiple people in them. So your training manager will assign formal training based on that and based on previous experience and previous cycles to give you the highest chance of medaling when you get through to Shanghai. If you commit more to your own training and take ownership of that, then you can give yourself a higher chance by developing your own weaknesses and your own strengths. So take ownership of everything that you've done, all of your strengths, all of your weaknesses, and really think about them and how you can train yourself in your own time or indeed at the formal training to give you the higher edge over your other competitors and also for when you get through to Shanghai. So commit as much time as you can, is my recommendation. Commit as much time as you can, balance it out with your personal life. Obviously work and your education comes first if you're still training. But after that, commit as much as you can to this competition and you will see results from that. So myself, I trained full-time for about 4 months prior to me going out to Russia. I've taken a year out of university. You know, I was almost at the end of my year at university and I decided to abandon university and leave it so I didn't have to do exams. I had no stress, no more university work, just so I could train full-time. And I was going into a workshop at 7:30 in the morning, coming home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, having a coffee, and then I set up a workshop in my parents' shed at the bottom of the garden to train in until late in the evening. At this stage, you probably don't have to do that. If you do that, you're going to greatly increase your chances of winning because you'll have been doing it for so long by the time you get to Shanghai. But just know that as you go through this, you're going to have to start committing more and more and more, and some things may have to fall to the wayside. So start thinking about these things. Take ownership of your own training and commit as much as you can, and you will see results for that. I promise you that. The next thing I'm going to talk about that sets us apart is passion. And you and I, we all chose our professions for a reason. We all sat there, and when we came to choosing what we wanted to do for the rest of our lives, we thought hard about it and we chose our profession for a reason. And I hope that reason is that you love what you do. And that's really important in our competitions, because if you love what you do and you enjoy doing it, then training will become easy to you and you'll be able to do it all the time. And it won't seem like a chore. It won't seem like another stressful thing that you have to do. It's something that you already love doing. So being able to channel that passion into your training will greatly increase your chances of being selected for Shanghai, and then when you get to Shanghai, of medaling. And I'll use another example of when I went to Brazil. So the Brazilian competitor had been taken away from his family, his girlfriend, long-term girlfriend, and to train full-time. And that was all he did, was training full-time, 6 days a week, had a day off a week. And, you know, they were staying in a nice hotel, everything was paid for. If he did well, then he was going to get a scholarship. Everything was there, all the incentives. But his passion had gone. He didn't enjoy doing it anymore. He saw it as a chore, something that he just wanted to get done. And he wanted to do well, because he wouldn't have been there otherwise. But he lost his passion, he didn't have any heart for it. And ultimately, that affected his score. Someone that I thought was going to do really well and I thought was going to be a huge contender for me. It affected his score because he didn't have that passion anymore and he didn't enjoy his training. So if you can keep that passion all the way through and you can channel it into your training, then you will see results again for that as well. And then the third and final thing that I'd like to talk about what sets us apart, is resilience. So as a nation, we're known for our keep calm and carry on attitude, and we really need to apply that to our training. So anything that you want that's worth having is more times than not never going to be easy to get, and you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to have some mistakes along the way. but it's how we pick ourselves up and how we carry on after that that really sets us apart, and as a competitor can give you that edge to go the whole way. Some competitors, for example, on day 2 might have a really bad day and they might give up. But if you can pick yourself up and you can carry on days 3 and 4, or throughout your training, if you have a bad day, a bad week, if you can pick yourself up after that and you can carry on doing what you do, you can pick up the marks that you know that are still there, then that can really give you a remarkable edge and really set you up to be able to win over these people. Don't give up, no matter what. Never give up. Keep going until someone tells you to stop, and that will give you that all-important difference. I won my gold medal by 1%. So if you can keep going and you can get that extra 1%, then that is all it needs. That is all it takes for you to win that gold medal and to beat those countries that you maybe thought until now were unbeatable. And then, as promised, I'm going to talk about training managers. Again, this is from a competitor's point of view, from my own personal experience, and hopefully with this information, maybe you think about your training managers a little bit differently. Maybe you start thinking about different ways that you can use them and ask them probing questions that will help you throughout your training and when you get to Shanghai as well. So training managers are ultimately there to guide you along your path. They will give you resources, materials, advice, knowledge, experience, everything that they can. They want to see you succeed. That's what they want. So, as I mentioned earlier, as a collective, a lot of their training at the moment is probably focused on the collective's weaknesses and the collective strengths. And you might find that you have different strengths and weaknesses to those around you in the squad. So be in contact with your training manager and discuss your strengths and weaknesses with them. And if you're doing training on your own, which again I highly recommend that you do, it will greatly increase your chances of being selected and subsequently medaling, then talk to your training manager about that. Tell them what you're doing and how you're planning to do it. Ask for their advice. So do they recommend doing it a different way? Maybe you need some materials or some advice on how to go about it. These are all things that you should be talking with your training manager about. Don't wait for your training manager to come to you with what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. Be proactive, and this comes back to the commitment thing. Take ownership of your own training. Discuss this with your training manager and they will be able to guide you and help you with any issues that you have, because ultimately they want to see you succeed and they want to take their best competitors to Shanghai. So if you're active, proactive, and you're showing an interest and you're doing everything you can to build up your weaknesses and turn them into strengths, then they will see that and they will appreciate that. So please don't keep anything from your training managers, because ultimately they will be there to help you make those things better. So that brings me to the end of about everything that I wanted to say. I just wanted to say, maybe for the sharp-eyed of you, you may have seen a little break in there in that video. I managed to do it in 2 takes. My phone ran out of battery. Poor planning. But yeah, so I wish you all the very best, and I hope that you and your families and friends are all okay and haven't been affected too badly by this current situation. I hope to see all of you around at a boot camp in the future. And if you have any questions at all about anything that I've said or anything that you think that I can help with, then please reach out to me on LinkedIn, Instagram as well. They're public profiles, so please do reach out, and if I can help you, then I will. Also reach out to past competitors from your own skills. So if whatever you compete in, reach out to past competitors and previous competitors, and they'll be able to give you an abundance of specific knowledge and experience. Maybe they know the training manager and they'll be able to give you some advice about how to communicate with your training manager more effectively, depending on your skills. So please don't be afraid to reach out of any of us from Team UK, Squad UK, performance coaches, or World Skills UK staff. We're all here to help you. So again, I wish you all the very best, and thank you for watching this all the way to the very end, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you very much.